Sodom and Gomorrah are among the most notorious cities in biblical history, serving as cautionary symbols for moral depravity and divine retribution. Their destruction is a tale woven deeply into the fabric of the Abrahamic faiths and has influenced cultural and religious perspectives on justice, morality, and divine judgment. This narrative, found in Genesis chapters 18 and 19, also highlights the profound relationship between Abraham and Lot and their roles in the story of salvation and human responsibility. By exploring this story in depth, we gain insights not only into the biblical context, but also into the timeless themes of mercy, justice, and the power of intercessory prayer. The cities of Sodom and Gomorrah are believed to have existed in the region that is now southeastern Israel, near the Dead Sea. This region, known as the Plain of Jordan, was once described as a fertile, lush area conducive to agriculture and trade. The Bible paints these cities as centers of commerce and wealth, but with an ingrained culture of sin and moral decay. In ancient Middle Eastern society, hospitality was more than a cultural expectation. It was a sacred duty. Travelers depended on the generosity of strangers for safety and sustenance. Violations of this duty were seen as profound moral failures. According to Ezekiel 16:49-50, Sodom's sins included arrogance, gluttony, and neglect of the poor, painting a picture of societal decay beyond just sexual immorality, which is often the focus of modern interpretations. Historians and theologians debate whether Sodom and Gomorrah were real cities or allegorical representations. While archaeological evidence is inconclusive, some findings hint at settlements that experienced sudden, catastrophic ends near the Dead Sea. These discoveries lend weight to the possibility that the biblical account, while possibly dramatized, is rooted in real events. Abraham's plea. The story of Sodom and Gomorrah takes on a significant twist when God reveals to Abraham his intent to destroy the cities due to their wickedness. This revelation sets the stage for one of the most poignant dialogues in the Bible, where Abraham, motivated by compassion and a sense of justice, pleads with God to spare the cities if righteous individuals can be found within them. Genesis 18:23-33 captures this exchange vividly. Abraham starts by asking if God would spare the city for 50 righteous people and continues to negotiate the number down to 10. This negotiation is not just a bold act. It is a profound testament to Abraham's understanding of divine justice and mercy. It portrays a God who listens and engages in dialogue, a deity open to intercession and influenced by the prayers of the faithful. Theologically, Abraham's plea reveals the tension between justice and mercy. God's willingness to entertain Abraham's request underscores the importance of righteousness in the eyes of the divine. It also highlights Abraham's character as a patriarch who deeply cares not only for his kin, Lot, but also for strangers and potential innocents. This act of intercession foreshadows the broader biblical theme of advocacy, later seen in the roles of prophets and ultimately in the intercessory role of Christ in Christian theology. The story of Lot. Lot's story is intricately tied to Abraham's, as Lot is Abraham's nephew and had journeyed with him from Ur to Canaan. Over time, Lot chose to settle in Sodom, attracted by its prosperity despite its moral reputation. This decision set the stage for a series of events that would test his character and illustrate the complex nature of human choices. When two angels, appearing as men, arrive in Sodom, Lot meets them at the city gate and insists they stay at his home for the night. His insistence on sheltering the strangers is noteworthy, as it exemplifies the virtue of hospitality that was so vital in ancient times. However, the situation takes a dark turn when the men of Sodom surround Lot's house, demanding the strangers be handed over to them. This moment reveals the city's deep moral corruption. Lot's response to the mob is both courageous and troubling. He offers his daughters in place of the guests, a move that modern readers find morally reprehensible. This act has sparked intense scholarly debate. Some interpretations suggest it was an extreme gesture to protect the sacred duty of hospitality at any cost. Others argue it highlights Lot's internal conflict and the influence of living in a morally compromised society. The angels intervene, striking the crowd with blindness and ordering Lot to gather his family and flee the city. Their command to not look back symbolizes the need for complete detachment from past sins and the importance of focusing on divine guidance without regret or hesitation. Lot's wife, however, disobeys and turns to look at the destruction, becoming a pillar of salt. This act serves as a metaphor for attachment to a sinful past and the consequences of defiance. The destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. The dramatic destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah is described in Genesis 19:24-29. The Bible states that the Lord rained down burning sulfur on Sodom and Gomorrah. This vivid imagery has been a source of fascination and debate. Geologists and historians have examined the Dead Sea region for evidence of such an event. The presence of sulfur deposits, bitumen, and signs of ancient seismic activity support theories that natural disasters may have inspired the biblical account. The destruction scene is emblematic of divine judgment. Fire and brimstone represent purification and finality. The obliteration of these cities serves as a stark reminder of the consequences of unchecked sin and the ultimate justice that follows divine patience. Lot's flight, guided by divine beings, marks the salvation of the few righteous amidst widespread destruction. The transformation of Lot's wife into a pillar of salt has captured the imagination of believers and scholars alike. The Dead Sea area is known for its salt formations, which may have inspired this part of the narrative. Her fate symbolizes the perils of disobedience and the difficulty of leaving behind a sinful life. It serves as a lesson in commitment to divine commands and the danger of looking back on the past with longing. Moral and theological lessons. The story of Sodom and Gomorrah is rich with moral and theological teachings that transcend time. One key lesson is the importance of hospitality and kindness to strangers. Lot's initial act of welcoming the angels underscores how this virtue was considered essential. Conversely, the city's treatment of visitors illustrates its profound moral failures. The destruction of the cities underscores the themes of divine justice and mercy. Abraham's intercession highlights that God is not indifferent to human appeals. However, it also shows that divine patience has limits, and persistent wickedness will eventually be met with judgment. The negotiation between Abraham and God serves as a template for the power of prayer and the concept that intercession can make a difference, even in the most dire circumstances. The story also explores the complexity of human choices. Lot's decision to settle in Sodom, despite its reputation, points to the dangers of compromising values for material gain. His actions during the crisis show both his virtue in protecting guests and his moral shortcomings, revealing the duality present in all humans. For theologians and believers, the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah has been interpreted as a warning against societal sin and the consequences of collective moral failure. This narrative has been referenced throughout religious teachings to emphasize the importance of righteousness and the vigilance needed to maintain it. It also serves as a caution against becoming too attached to worldly pleasures at the expense of spiritual values. The legacy of Sodom and Gomorrah. The story of Sodom and Gomorrah has left an indelible mark on religious thought, literature, and moral teachings. Throughout history, it has been cited as an example of God's capacity for both patience and judgment. The names of these cities have become synonymous with sin and have influenced countless sermons, theological discussions, and literary works. In Christian teachings, the story is often used to highlight the balance between justice and salvation. Jesus refers to Sodom in the Gospels, warning towns that refuse to heed his message that their fate could be worse than that of Sodom, Matthew 10:15. This comparison underscores the severity of ignoring divine instruction and the consequences of turning away from truth. In Jewish interpretations, Sodom and Gomorrah are used to stress the importance of social justice and kindness. Rabbinic literature often expands on the sins of Sodom, depicting them as communities that actively oppose charity and communal support. This broader interpretation shifts the focus from individual sin to systemic failures in compassion and justice. In Islam, the Quran recounts the story of Prophet Lot, and emphasizes the punishment of those who reject divine guidance. It aligns with the themes of warnings given to societies that persist in wrongdoing. The story serves as a moral and spiritual lesson about the consequences of defiance against God's commands. Archaeological and scientific perspectives. The potential historical basis for the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah has intrigued researchers and archaeologists for centuries. While direct evidence remains inconclusive, some theories align with the biblical narrative. The Dead Sea region's geological characteristics, such as natural bitumen pits and high sulfur content, suggest that a catastrophic event involving fire could have occurred. One theory posits that an earthquake in the area could have triggered the release of flammable gases, leading to a firestorm. Such events are known to happen near tectonic plate boundaries and could account for the fire and brimstone described in Genesis. Additionally, some scholars point to the ancient cities of Bab-ed-Drar and Numera, which show signs of sudden destruction and have been considered possible sites for Sodom and Gomorrah. These findings, while not definitive, continue to fuel interest in the story and support the notion that the biblical account may have roots in real events that were passed down through generations and shaped into a powerful moral tale. The story of Sodom and Gomorrah is a profound example of divine justice intertwined with mercy and human responsibility. The intercession of Abraham demonstrates the power of prayer and advocacy, showing that even in the face of impending judgment, compassion can play a role. Lot's experiences illustrate the consequences of moral compromise and the complexity of human decisions. The destruction of these cities serves as both a cautionary tale and a reflection of divine attributes. It underscores the importance of righteousness, the value of obedience, and the peril of allowing societal corruption to go unchecked. This story, embedded in the broader context of Genesis, continues to resonate through religious teachings and cultural references, reminding believers of the delicate balance between judgment and grace.